Hello and welcome back to Canada Top to Bottom. Now, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about study permits in Canada. We've had a lot of inquiries recently all about study permits. How do I study in Canada? What are the benefits? How do I go about it? What does it involve? So I thought I would do a little video to talk about it today. In a nutshell, the reason why a lot of people are looking to study in Canada right now more than ever before is because getting permanent residence in Canada is becoming increasingly more challenging. Since COVID, since the backlog, since the complete mess up, so many people with high points, it's just becoming more difficult. If you don't have a connection to Canada in the form of a relative, perhaps previous study in Canada, previous work in Canada, or speaking French as well is the other big one. The reality is that your points may not be high enough to get selected for permanent residence. So a popular option is to now look at study pathways to Canada. So how do you study in Canada? What are the benefits of it? If you get a study permit to Canada, you come and study here. Once you're in the country with a valid permit, with a valid reason to be in Canada, your options suddenly become a lot wider. There are lots of pathways to permanent residence for graduate students. So it's becoming an increasingly more popular option. Now, it's not as simple as I'm just going to apply and get a study permit and come to Canada. Study permits are a lot more complex than they first appear. And Canada is a complex country to gain a study permit. It's not simply, I'll apply for it. It's not a points-based system. An officer makes a decision as to whether they think that you are a genuine student, whether you deserve to come to Canada. So basically you need to have a really, really strong application. You need to have a really strong, compelling, convincing reason as to why you want to come and study in Canada. So I'm going to talk about three main things that you should consider, that you should think about before you start down this road. The first thing you need to do when you are going to come and study in Canada is apply to a school, a college, a university for a particular program. So you're going to submit an application to that particular establishment that you want to come and enroll into that program. So the first thing you need to think about is, what are you going to study? And what are you going to study comes hand in hand with your purpose of visit to Canada. So you want to come to Canada to study, that's fine. Why? Why is the big question. Why do you want to study this particular program? Why this particular school? Why Canada? And how is it going to help you once you've finished? So does it relate to what you've done in the past? It doesn't necessarily have to, but if it doesn't relate to what you've done in the past, how is it going to relate to what you do in the future? If you already hold a master's degree in physiology, and you want to come to Canada and do a postgraduate diploma in physiology, you're going to be highly questioned as to why you need to do another degree in the same thing that you already have a higher degree for. So you have to think carefully about why. Why are you coming to study that particular program? It may be because it's going to propel your career to the next level. It may be because it's going to help you start your own business. Whatever your reason may be, it has to be convincing and it has to be compelling. It has to convince a visa officer that you are a genuine student and you are coming to Canada because you need this international qualification, this international experience to help you in what you plan to do next. So that's the first thing, your purpose of study, your purpose of visit to Canada. The second thing that you need to really, really think carefully about is money, basically. Finances. Do you have enough money to finance your visit to Canada? So if you're coming for a 1-year course, if you're coming for a 2-year course, or a 3-year or a 4-year undergraduate degree, you need to show in your application that you have enough money to pay for this. So 3 things you need to consider in your finances. Do you have enough money to pay for your tuition fees? Do you have enough money to pay for your living expenses? And do you have enough money to show that you can get yourself to and from Canada? Because ultimately, it's a temporary resident visa to Canada. It's only temporary, it's not permanent. You are going to be in Canada for a specified period of time. And at the end of that, you need to show that you can leave. So you need to have enough money for a return visit from your home country to Canada and back. So tuition fees, this varies wildly depending on what you're studying. This could be, for international students, anything ranging from 10,000 Canadian dollars up to 25,000 Canadian dollars per year. So if you're coming for a 1-year course, your tuition fees could be, for a master's program, it could be up to 25, even 30,000 Canadian dollars. For living expenses, you need to show that you have got at least $10,000 Canadian dollars per year. And then you need to show that you've got money to pay for any dependents you bring. If you bring your spouse, if you bring your children, that's all extra money on top of that. Your first dependent, so your spouse, will be another $4,000 per year. Every additional dependent, so every child, will be another $3,000 per year. So if you've got 3 children and you're bringing them with you, you need to show that you've got enough $4,000 for your spouse and then another $9,000 for each of your 3 children. So you need to show that you've got tuition fees, living expenses, and then, depending on which country you're coming from, enough money to fund a flight there and back. So you've got your purpose of visit, you've got your proof of your proof of funds, and the third thing, your proof of ties. And by proof of ties, I mean proof that you have got ties to your home country. If you're coming to Canada for a temporary visit, you've got to show that you have every intention of returning back to your home country, back to where the majority of your ties are from. So wherever you're from, you need to show that you've got family, employment, assets, things to return to. If many people are rejected because the Canadian government don't believe that they will leave Canada at the end of their permitted stay. So a refusal could say, we don't believe that you have got strong enough ties in your home country to enable your return. And this is for visiting visas too. So visiting visa is another temporary visa to Canada. If you're visiting, if you're studying, if you're working, they need to see that at the end of your permitted stay, you're going to leave and go back to your home country. And if you don't have any ties there, it's very unlikely you're going to be given a study permit in Canada. So those are your 3 things that you need to really focus on. It's not as simple as I'll just complete this application form, send it off, and they'll give me a study permit. Sadly not. So those are the 3 things that I would really think about if you are considering studying in Canada. The first thing you need to do is gain admission to a school. Once you've got that letter showing that you have gained admission to that school, into that program, then you need to apply for your study program, your study permit. So if you are thinking of studying in Canada, I hope this has helped you. It's absolutely doable. Students get approved every day to come and study in Canada. And once you're here, once you've got your foot in the door, then your options for permanent residence are much, much wider. So it's a great route into Canada. It's a great pathway towards permanent residence. It's not easy, it's not straightforward, but it's absolutely doable. And if you are equipped with the right tools and the right knowledge, then you stand a much better chance of, convincing a visa officer that you should be allowed in and you should be allowed to come and study in Canada. So I hope that has helped. Please let us know if you're thinking of coming to study in Canada. We'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to hear what you've done in the past, what your thoughts are. So please let us know, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.